Good morning, everybody. It's Kalini Kent here. And as part of my In Conversation With series of conversations with people, I have got the amazing Irene Wignall in the studio with me. Irene has got an incredible story to tell. She has gone through more adversity than most of us do in the last 10 years. And yet she's coming out smiling and with so much humour. So I'd love to invite Irene into the studio to join me. Hello, Irene. Good morning.
Hi, Kalini. Okay.
Yes, fine, thank you. And how are you this morning?
I'm good. We've got a quiet house now in the last 10 minutes, so we're all good.
And that's really good because actually this is take two. So thank you so much to those of you who actually listened on Thursday. But as you know, we had a few issues with the microphone. And so there was a lot of clicking and all we could hear was click, click, click all the way through. Good morning, Keely. Thank you for joining us and listening in. Lovely to hear from you. And if anybody's got any comments or any questions that they want to add into the stream, we will answer them and we will try and give feedback on any comments you've got. Okay, thank you. So, Irene, we are going to be hearing an amazing story about you, about your book, Look for the Effin Rainbows, which has got an interesting title, hasn't it?
Yeah. Remember.
So what I thought we would do, first of all, is you are a mum with three men in your life, haven't you?
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your family background and Adam is your husband, isn't he?
Yeah, so I've got three men in my life. The big man, which is 6'5", Adam, my husband. And then I've got littler men. So I've got Ted, who's 8, just turned 8, and Albie, who's 5. Highly spirited, I like to call them. Some people might call them differently, but they've definitely got their own personalities. Make me laugh every day, make me go crazy every day, but that's life.
It is. And how's lockdown been for you with them all at home with you?
Trying. Yeah, so myself and Adam both work shifts, so we decided we were going to try and keep the boys at home. We're both key workers, but we did make the conscious decision of keeping them at home. And so juggling our shifts and trying to homeschool was horrendous, really. I started off with so many good intentions. We had a timetable. They had spending money to spend during the day on snacks. That lasted 2 days. So, yeah, we had good intentions.
But you know what? This is what everybody's been struggling with, isn't it? The juggling of the homeschooling. And luckily, I suppose, in some respects, because you've got shift working hours, that possibly has helped you, whereas some people I know have been actually trying to work at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we've both done our 40 hours, but it's just separate. So one will be at home, the other will be at work. So me and Adam haven't seen each other, but we've seen a lot of the kids.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, and they're obviously going back to school in September. And in fact, we might as well say what it is you do. You are a detective constable, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a detective in the police. Yeah.
And in fact, is that how you met? Yeah, that's how you met Adam, isn't it?
Yeah, he's an inspector now in the police. When I met him, he was a stinky probationer, and I was in CID.
And I've got to say that we were preparing for this, you actually have got a very funny story about how you met Adam and how you decided to get married. So do you want to tell us and share that with us? Because it's really lovely.
So Adam used to come up and ask for advice because I was in CID, and I'd give him my advice, and I thought I quite like him. So I had a work phone and a personal phone. So I said, here's my personal number. If you ever need any more advice, just give me a ring. Meaning, ask me out. Anyways, a year went by, no text message from him. So I decided to do it myself. And I asked him out, and we went on a date to a local pub. And I knew straight away that he was the one for me. I knew I was going to marry him. So much so that when I was going home in the taxi, I said to the taxi driver, I've just met the man I'm going to marry. So I didn't tell Adam. I left it a while before I told Adam that were my intentions. And I said to him since, did you feel the same way? And he was like, no, not really.
So, I mean, eventually, sort of obviously you got married. And how long afterwards did you get married?
We got married in 2012. So only like 3 years. we got married, but I knew it was going to be in my life forever.
So when you were talking about that you've got the three, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the children? You've obviously decided, but I just think this is just so funny. You did say to me that you decided to have children, but you had this vision of having, you're a bit of a dreamer, aren't you? Yeah. And you had this vision of 2 girls. So what happened there?
Well, see, I'm one of 3 girls, so I couldn't ever imagine myself with a boy. And so that's it. I am a big vision person. I visualize everything in my life, and that's the thing. It doesn't always go to plan. So I had this vision of these 2 girls, chubby cheeks, curly hair. I could even, details. I could visualize these details. And so me and Adam decided we were going to try for babies. And it never happened initially. And I thought, this is not how I expected. So it went on then for about 18 months trying for a baby. So we were referred to fertility clinic for treatment, and they gave us a medication called Clomid, which increases the eggs. And I remember thinking, they said you could get twins or triplets, and I was really excited about this. However, Adam wasn't. So we had 3 months of the Clomid, the medication, and still no baby. But I'd worked myself up into it. I was just so stressed about it all. So we had a month off, and they said after the month off, come back and we'll increase the dosage, meaning a higher chance of triplets, etc. So because of that, I just relaxed, and we decided to book our wedding in that month off and just forget about babies and concentrate on getting married. And that month is the month I conceived.
Do you know, I've heard that so often. I have heard it. So people, as soon as you've sort of, well, I suppose it's relaxing, and so you're not tense anymore about it. So it must have been it saved you a lot of money as well, didn't it? Yeah. Can I just share a few comments? We've got Lavinia, who has said a brilliant book. She's obviously read your book, which we're going to hear about in a minute. Fantastic person, lots of love. And also Caroline Crossland. Yeah, I think that's about your story about meeting Adam. So these are obviously lots of friends of yours. And then Daniel McLaughlin, loved your book, Irene, a true inspiration.
No, thanks.
It is an amazing. We are going to leave some information for anybody who actually wants to buy the book, because it's a very unusual book, isn't it? The style that you've written it and everything. Yeah. And then this is Emma. Your book is amazing. Oh, I'm so pleased you've got so many lovely people listening. So do keep the comments going, guys, and we will actually give feedback and show your comments on here. So go on. So you then obviously, having had this vision, I bet you even thought about the clothes and everything.
Oh my gosh, been shopping. I'd even bought a little pair of flip-flops. With flowers all over them, little baby pair, because obviously a brand new baby needs flip-flops, and I'd even bought them a year beforehand, because I thought, if I start buying now, then it won't cost as much. And I remember when we were going through the treatment, Adam moved the flip-flops, and I think it was just to save me any more sort of heartbreak and getting upset, and he moved them. But Adam sometimes is away with the fairies as well, so he'd put them on his car roof, got in his car, forgot, and drove off. So then I went to the car the next day, and there's the pair of flip-flops on the floor. I thought, oh my gosh, it's a sign, because I take everything as a sign. And then I said to Adam, how did the flip-flops get outside? And he was like, I'm really sorry, I was trying to hide them.
This is what I mean about your sense of humour. It's amazing. This is Keely. Thank you, Keely. Really great. Would highly recommend Irene's book. Written really well. Yes, it is. Absolutely. I've read some parts. Funny and sad. Yeah, it's a really true reflection of your life, but we're going to come on to that. And hello, good morning, Sarah. Lovely for you to join us. Thank you. So obviously one of then we had Ted arrive, didn't we?
Yeah, so I was induced. He had no he wasn't interested in arriving, basically, on his own behalf. So I was induced, and between being induced and going down to the delivery suite, I contracted sepsis. So immediately everything changed. I remember having to sign a document saying that they were going to save me, and I was a priority. And I was put to sleep, and Ted arrived, and I didn't see him for probably 24 hours. So he went into the ICU, the baby unit, and I was in ICU. And I remember Adam saying, "Do you mind if I go and see him?" And at that time, it sort of took me back a little bit, because I thought, I'm really poorly. And this little person who's arrived into this world is getting all the attention. So he went and saw him and took a picture. And then I went eventually to go and see him. And I remember thinking, yeah, he's cute, and he's got lovely hair, and that's about it. So I didn't get this big rush of love that I expected to get, that everybody seemed to get. And I didn't tell anybody initially, because I just thought, I can't believe after 18 months of trying for a baby, and I'm not even a natural mum. And I just didn't get this rush of love. Obviously, I wanted him to be well, but this bond, I didn't feel it. And I thought, I just had immense guilt then, because I thought, I brought this little man into the world, and what am I going to do with him?
I mean, you've talked to me about how you've felt a lot of disappointment in yourself because of that, and that it led to your guilt. And in fact, guilt is something we're going to talk about, because it's been a bit of a theme all the way throughout, hasn't it? Which you've actually had to address. And I can understand that feeling, being a mum myself. But it's actually, you did bond with him though, didn't you? Obviously within the week.
Yeah, within a week. Yeah.
And I think it was also the challenge with the breastfeeding, wasn't it? That didn't go really well.
Yeah, I think because I'm a visual person, I expected all these things just to click into place. It seemed to for everybody else. Why did it not just click into place for me? But it was just hard work. I was poorly, and it was hard work initially. But yeah, I got him a bottle one night. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I asked another mum for a bottle of milk. So I was feeding Ted, and he was looking up at me, and there was no pressure, there was no stress or crying. And I just thought, I love this little man. And yeah, we're firm best friends. He's a proper mummy's boy.
So then we take it. In fact, we've got some more lovely comments coming through. Sian Ellen, who is also my book mentor, and she's been your mentor as well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Good morning, Sian Ellen. It's lovely to have you here. You are a breath of fresh air. I can actually vouch for that. In fact, I just want to share that I only met you through Sian Ellen.
Yeah.
And she told me that, if there was somebody you were going to talk to, you were the person. And I'm really pleased we have, because it's been lovely. I've got to know you over the last several weeks. It's been gorgeous. And you do make people laugh. I'll come on to sharing a few of the other comments in a moment once we talk about Dusty. So tell us about Dusty, because obviously this is your first major sort of tragedy, wasn't it?
Yeah. So as in my vision, I wanted 2 children close together. So I convinced Adam it would probably take us 18 months again to conceive. And we started trying when Ted was 7 months old, and we conceived the first month. So this pregnancy felt very different to Ted's pregnancy. And I remember thinking, well, maybe because it's a girl, different pregnancies feel differently. And I had a few issues throughout. And then I went for a routine antenatal appointment with the midwife, and she said, I explained that I've been having stomach pains, and she said, that's fine, it's perfectly normal, it's just your stomach growing. So that was at 3 o'clock. I left, accepted what she said, left and came home, and by 6 o'clock I was in agony. And I realised then, because I've never had contractions with Ted, we never got to that stage, I realised that I'm having contractions, and that's what's been happening all day. So we phoned the hospital, and the hospital told us, well, we actually ended up going in an ambulance. And it was quite weird in the ambulance. It was a bit like a taxi ride, So what time are you on till? And all I was thinking was, I hope my baby's alive. I hope my baby's alive. And Adam was just trying to make small talk. And so we got to the hospital, and they checked his heartbeat, and he was alive. And they said he's alive and he's on his way, but it's going to be very poorly because he's so little. So that was fine. Me and Adam are strong. We have a strong support network around us, and I was happy with that. We could deal with that. And then the delivery suite that I was in was packed. There was loads of people around. They brought in an incubator. They brought in a little toasty bag, and they said, this is what he's going to be put in to keep him warm. And yeah, so everybody was ready for him. I was ready for him. And I remember my mum coming in then, because she had Ted. So I had no idea what Ted was at this stage. And my mum came in, and I remember looking to the side and saying, "Mum, he's alive, he's on his way." So I had my mum at one side, I had Adam at the other side. And I thought, this is how my vision was, like the people I love at the side of me, willing me on. And then the midwife came and checked his heartbeat again, and then got a consultant, and the consultant sat on the bed, and I remember it clearly, and she nodded to me and said to the midwife, "What's her name?" And I knew then she was going to tell me that he passed away. So that was it. The room just emptied all of a sudden. And I remember thinking, somebody fight for him. Do a section, get him out. I will do CPR. Somebody fight for him. And there was just nothing. And I said before, I didn't realise how final death is. I think it's silly saying that out loud, but there's just no turning back. It's final, and that's it. I found that hard to accept. So the midwife said that I had to carry on with the labour. I had to still deliver Dusty. And she said to me, "Do you want to see your baby when he arrives?" And I just thought, of course I want to see my baby. I felt him kick inside me. We've already got this bond. Of course I want to see my baby. I want to inhale him. I want to like in every little piece of him. I want to smell him. So when he was born, he was put on my chest, and he was gorgeous. He was 2 pound 1. He was born on the 8th of November, and he was gorgeous. He looked just like Ted. And so that day we spent in the delivery suite. They didn't move us, myself and Adam, talking to Dusty and telling him about his big brother Ted, and telling him what his life would have been like. Our parents came in, and my sisters, just to give him a cuddle and to say goodbye. I remember the midwife said to me, "Why don't you have a bath?" So I had a bath, and Adam was sat in a chair at the side of me with Dusty in his arms. And we just chatted to him. But if somebody had said 10 years prior to that, this is what a woman's done, I don't know how I would have felt about it. But being in that situation, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. So then we were told after about 12 hours, Dusty had to go to the mortuary. So there's a procedure that a midwife has to take the baby to the mortuary. So in Bolton Hospital, there's the maternity wards at one end, and the delivery suite, the mortuary is at the other end, with all the other bits in between. So it's a bit like life, really. So I remember walking down the corridor with the midwife holding Dusty, and me and Adam walking, and that was the only walk we ever had with Dusty. And we handed him over to the lady in the mortuary, and all I remember is she had mad white hair. Yeah, it's just funny, the details that I remember. I can't remember her face, but I just remember she had mad white hair. And that day we left the hospital then, and we were holding hands, and we didn't speak.
I mean, what you've gone through, it just doesn't bear thinking about, because the grief you must have felt, because everybody, when you're pregnant and you expect your baby to, that must have been, untold. I mean, how Adam, obviously, also we've talked about how Adam grieved in a different way to you, didn't he? And that you found interesting, challenging.
Yeah. So I got quite angry when Adam grieved, which is awful, but it's just my grieving at the same time. And I remember if I cried and Adam came to console me or hug me and cried as well, it made me really angry, and it made me stop crying, because I wanted to say, "How dare you grieve for my baby? He's kicked inside me. I felt him. You have no idea how this really is." And I'm so glad I didn't say that out loud. He knows now. We've talked about it, but you've no idea how somebody will grieve. You don't grieve at the same way, the same time, and you've just got to accept each stage as it goes along, because without accepting it, you can't get through to the next stage, and you can't get through to the next stage.
Can I just share with you a few comments which have been popping in? This is Emma, who earlier on, before you started talking about Dusty, she's actually said that your book has really helped her through her own grief.
Emma is lovely. I met Emma. It was quite weird. And this is why I like to talk about Dusty, because I met Emma at a network event where I was talking. And as I was talking, Emma, I could see, was crying. And I knew that what I was saying, she'd been through similar. Yeah, I could just tell. So afterwards, we'd never even spoken. We hugged. Like Emma's got a completely different story, but similar lines. And by talking to people and putting it out there, I think we help each other. Emma's helped me, and I help Emma, and I know people that I've met along the way. And it's just by talking, by saying out loud what you feel and what you went through.
I mean, I will share a few others, like Lavinia has said, it's obviously heartbreaking. Thank you for all your comments, everybody. Emma has also said such special memories. Heartbreaking. You are amazing. You really are. Catherine. So these are just thank you, ladies, for all of your lovely comments, Emma as well. And then I just will share this one as well whilst we're sharing thoughts. Judith, who said you need to be careful when you read Irene's book. And I do totally understand what she means about laughing at times and then obviously sobbing as well. So yes, you are a true inspiration. And I do think this idea of sharing what's happened to you does help others, doesn't it?
Yeah. And at the same time, it helps me as well. Because now I can talk so easily about him. So that's helped me by sharing my story and talking to other people that have been through situations and situations where you think, I must have been a bit abnormal thinking that, but actually no, it's quite a normal part of grief. So yeah, it makes you feel quite normal when you're speaking to other people.
Yeah. And then obviously straight after that, you got pregnant again, didn't you?
Yeah, I convinced everybody and myself that I'd dealt with it. I'd had counselling. I put my grief in a little box and I tucked it away. So yeah, I convinced everybody that I was fine, and I wasn't. So me and Evan tried again, and super fertile, got pregnant the first time we tried. So then as soon as we got pregnant, I remember going round to my mum's house and telling her that we're pregnant, and I sobbed, and it weren't tears of joy. It was guilt. I felt guilt on the new baby, whether he'd be feeling like a replacement. I felt guilty to Dusty that I'd replaced him so quickly, or and I felt guilty to my parents as well, that I was going to put them through another 9 months of stress and anxiety. So the guilt didn't leave me.
Because I think by that point, when you also have lost one child, and I just will go back and say that I think the thought that you then had to actually deliver must have been just so hard, knowing that he was going to be stillborn. But the fact is, because you've been through that, it's that fear always, isn't it? An expectation that it can happen again. Yeah.
And I've always lived my life. If you can just be a good person and nothing bad will happen, but it's not true. Things do happen completely out of your control, and that's the first ever horrible thing that has happened to me. And I just thought, it doesn't really matter what I do. If something happens, it's going to happen. So that was on my mind throughout the pregnancy. I cried a lot throughout the pregnancy. So yeah. I just want it. See, 9 months doesn't seem like a long time, but when you're living it every day, it's an extremely long time. And we had scans every 2 weeks because of what had happened to Dusty. But there was no signs that anything bad was going to happen to our new baby, another boy. So it was a hard pregnancy to get through.
Yeah, you said obviously you cried, and that was like a culmination of everything just coming together, really, isn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It all happened just so quickly. You didn't have the time to reflect and just heal and all that?
Yeah, I think my body hadn't healed, even though I pretended to myself that my head had healed. Your hormones are still all over the place.
Yeah.
3 months after having a baby, and I just put that to one side. I just wanted a baby back inside me. That's what I wanted. I wanted to feel my baby kicking again.
And then Albie was born, who's now 5, isn't he?
Yeah,
and you said that he cried and cried and cried as well afterwards.
Yeah. So he was born by C-section, and it's fair to say he was a very whingy baby. And as mothers do, I blame that on myself through crying throughout the pregnancy. So he's still a bit whingy, but he's funny with it now. So we just ignore the whingy. But yeah, a mother's guilt, I blame that on myself as well.
And if we can mention also that you, after you had Albie, you had postnatal depression, didn't you?
Yeah. And I remember Adam saying to me, why are you so sad? You've got everything you ever wanted, albeit they were boys, but why are you so sad? And I remember thinking, I have no idea. I have no idea. But the sadness inside, I just couldn't get rid of it. And I also thought that something bad was going to happen to Albie. So I think they call it catastrophizing. So if he had a cough or he was choking, at one point he was choking in the front room, and Adam was in the kitchen, and it was only a matter of seconds, but I sort of sat back and thought, this is Albie's time. And then sort of my instincts kicked in and helped him, and he was fine. And I went into Adam, and it's the first time I told Adam what I thought was going to happen to Albie. And I remember he was poorly, he had a high temperature, and I took him to the hospital, and the doctor there said, yeah, he's fine, take him home, monitor him. And so I took him home, and I was still worried about 12 hours later. I went back to the hospital, and it was the same doctor, probably on a 24-hour shift, and she just said to me, why are you back? And in my head, I just wanted to say, because I think my baby's going to die. My baby's going to die. And I just cried and brought him back home, and he was fine. And with counselling, I've got through that. But it wasn't until Adam said, I think we need a chat. And I said, if you're going to say I've got postnatal depression, we're over. And even that's an irrational thing to say. But I just couldn't see it at the time. And I remember looking the symptoms of postnatal depression. And as I was reading the symptoms, I thought, I've got it. And it just felt like a massive weight had lifted off my shoulders. Like, I can deal with it. We can deal with it now. Now it's got a name. It's fixable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that catastrophic thinking, it's worst case scenario thinking. It's quite a common thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised after what you've been through.
I know, but even then, I've learned so much since that I thought, actually, it's normal. But at the time, I thought, why am I thinking this? Why am I letting myself do this? But yeah, and it's quite normal.
So the way your coping mechanisms then, because you were obviously going through the postnatal depression, and obviously you said you were sort of like your grieving method was different with Adam. You then turned to drinking, didn't you?
Yeah,
a lot of wine.
Yeah, I drank a lot of wine, which at the time sort of numbed it for me. But what I didn't realise, that just because it's numbed it doesn't go away. You still have to go through it. So it wasn't until I realised that I decided to become teetotal. So I've not drunk for nearly 2 years now. But yeah, it's the big thing of acceptance again. You know, you have to go through it. And by drinking wine, I wasn't allowing my feelings to happen, masking them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I love your phrase. You said you had an unhappy relationship with alcohol.
Yeah. And I think there's so many people out there. Well, I think there's a lot of people out there who are the same, who are not alcoholics, who are not rock bottom, but are just not happy with their relationship. And a lot of it is mums, because you see everywhere, mums need gin, it's gin o'clock, it's wine o'clock. And you think, yeah, I've had a hard day, glass of wine. But it doesn't help. And since giving up drinking, my mind has become so much clearer. Stuff still happens, bad stuff still happens, but you deal with it. You don't just mask it.
I think life is like that. It's not a straight line, is it? It goes up and down, and it will happen. I mean, having said that, you've had more adversity than most. I just want to share this, Lisa. Met again, you've made me cry. And then Lavinia as well, who's just added, so very proud of you. And if I can just share this as well, Keely's just posted this. She said postnatal depression was unwell. And I do agree with that, actually, that sometimes these things aren't talked about enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of work with parents and young people, and I do know, for example, people are going there have been a lot of people who have the alcohol consumption has gone up during COVID and lockdown. And it is a way of masking pain and masking difficulties and challenges. And I do think it is really good. You know, it is something I've been thinking about, actually sort of setting up a group where people can actually just talk about any of the challenges they face.
Yeah. And that's what, like, we just set up a Be Sober Bolton group, which is on the back of Be Sober Manchester. And it's just for people to meet like-minded people. Just because I think once you surround yourself with like-minded people, it helps you accept you are quite normal.
Yeah, and I think that is that sometimes, Presley, and also I think this is very relevant. It's the fact that it's like people, it used to be taboo to talk about mental health issues and mental health problems, didn't it? But it really is important. It's okay to not be okay, and it is okay to talk about these things. I'm a mental health first aid for adults and youth, and I do find that people do want to hide their challenges and their problems, and it is really important to just that talking therapy. And just also I think it's the shared community of finding other people who may be going through the similar thing that actually does really give that support, doesn't it? So I think, you know, as you've said, as Keely said here, putting yourself out there and sharing this knowledge is real, and you know what's happened to you is really good. So thank you so much. Keep the comments going, guys. We'll keep sharing it. We've got a lot of people watching as well. So moving on from that, this is where the writing started, isn't it? Through all of this, do you want to tell us about your writing, because I think it's been quite a cathartic process, hasn't it, for you?
So I started writing 3 things I were grateful for each day at the end of the day, just to try and focus on the positives, because I think you can wallow in your own self-pity. You can go down, and you have to make a choice. Right, I'm either going down or I'm going back up, and so that was what I decided to do. And I started writing then about the positives in my life, the things that I were grateful for. But I also started being quite honest about my stories with Ted and Albie, and I call them my stinks. That's how we refer to them. So I started as Stinky Stories, and just being really honest with how hard motherhood is, and not in a like, oh, look at me, I'm a hero, but just, I'm sure other people are feeling this as well. You know, social media, you see people on social media and you think they're acing it, and I'm just sat in a corner rocking here. But it's not true. It's just not true. So the writing really did help, and it was like the therapy without the cost. Just emptying my head onto paper, and I love it. But I love noticing details as well. And I think those details, when you put them in a book for somebody else to read, or put them in a blog or whatever for somebody else to read, it helps the reader actually be there with you.
It's like, I mean, I call it painting the picture, and I think you are very good at that, aren't you? You are a very visual person, but it's you add humour into it. But you've got to buy the book, everybody. It's just it's the fact that you put humour into it, but you paint the picture, but also you don't. It's uplifting at the same time as telling a true story.
I'd like to think that. I'd like to hope, but I'd hope that people read it and think, actually, I'm doing all right. You know, that give that feeling to people. We're all trying our best. there's situations that happen that we have no control of, like COVID. Try your best. That's all anybody can do.
Yeah, and I think it's this thing about social media as well, isn't it? That you do. I think we're also, you know, you want to put out there that you're coping, that everything's fine, that life's great. And let's face it, you share the pictures that are great and look great and you look pretty in and the kids are having fun, but you don't share the other stuff that's going on for people. And it therefore takes situations like this where you're sharing this. And in fact, we are having a lot of, you get me emotional, actually, my lovely. Yeah, we've had that. And then Carol, love your honesty, Irene. You're an amazing lady. Oh, so you've obviously got a lot of followers who obviously know about you and what you're doing, which is lovely. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. So let's move it, as if that isn't enough. Adversity, you then find in 2018 you have a brain tumor. How did that first of all appear and establish itself?
So Ted and Albie were about 4 and 2, and I remember thinking, wow, I am so tired. Is this what motherhood is all about? And I went for a couple of blood tests and they were like, no, you're fine. So I thought maybe I need glasses. So I went to the opticians and they said no. I went to hearing. They told me to go for a hearing test. So I went for a hearing test, and the guy there said that my hearing in my left side wasn't right and take this report to my doctor. So within 2 weeks, I had an MRI scan, which I found really scary. And I thought, I'm a grown adult here, and I just found it really scary. And within 4 days, an appointment had been made, and we went to, Adam came with me. And we went into the room, and the consultant said, you've got a brain tumour. And then I just switched off, basically, and Adam took in everything else he was saying. So when we came out, I remember thinking, I'm not going to cry. And the waiting room was full of people, so we had to walk through the waiting room, and I was pretty much running through just to get out. And Adam was saying, Irene, wait up. And then when we got just past the reception, he just put his arms around me, and I started crying, and I probably swore as well, but I was like, I'm so angry. I am so angry. And he's saying, we can deal with this. You've been through worse. We can deal with this. And I said, but that's the point. I don't want to go through it. I don't want to be strong. It takes a lot of energy to be strong. I'm just being as we are. I'm just happy. And selfishly, I thought, give this brain tumor to somebody who hasn't lost a child. I'm just enjoying my life now, and I'm happy with my lot. Yeah, I was very angry.
Because I think you said it was because you thought, well, why me again? You know, you already had one test in life, and why me? So it wasn't about being nasty to other people. It was just the fact that, you know, why me? Why should I have to go through this again? And it's true.
I know. And now looking back on it, with what has happened, I think, why me? And I think because I'm strong, and because I've hopefully turned it around and hopefully helped other people. So that was me.
And then you were saying also that people were trying to be helpful, but you found that difficult as well.
Yeah, and I found it myself. What do you say? What do you say to people? What do you say when they've just lost a child? And what do you say when they've just been diagnosed with a brain tumor? And sometimes I think I felt a bit sorry for myself at the beginning, and I sort of wallowing in my own self-pity for a couple of weeks. And I remember somebody saying, well, at least it's not cancerous. And I thought, well, you have it then. You have it. If you know, if it's that much of a breeze, crack on. But yeah, it's just hard. It is hard. And they're just trying to be nice, and they're just trying to say the right thing.
And I'll just share a couple more comments. This is a friend of mine, Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. Yes, we've been having some amazing conversations, and it is so nice though to be able to talk to different people. I've been doing this all during lockdown because everybody's got their own story and their journey that they're going on, and there is so much learning to be had from everybody to other people. So I think it's lovely. Thank you so much. Lavinia, buy the book, you'll not be disappointed. And this is why I love you, Irene. And then Sam Cook. been through the ringer having you. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, everybody. It's been lovely to share. And you know what the other thing as well is that what was the impact on, I mean, your family have had to also, Adam's been incredible, hasn't he? And you've said it's made you a lot stronger, but you've obviously had to have a lot of, it's been an impact on the children too. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so they knew, the way we described it was that Mummy had a spot on her brain and we had to get rid of it. I suppose Ted was a bit older and I think he was a little bit worried, but I remember when I went in for the operation, because the tumour was growing. So I had the operation last March 2019. And when I went in for the operation, Ted and Albie had been threatened with their life not to shoot me with a Nerf gun when I came out, not to jump on Mummy's head. So, and Ted could handle that. Albie couldn't. He couldn't find a middle ground. So he just stayed away from me. So the temptation to shoot me with a Nerf gun was just too much. So he just stayed away from me for about 6 months, which was heartbreaking. In such he's such a short life so far. And I just thought, oh, come back. But he has come back. Like a limpet next to me now. But it's hard. It's hard to remain normal. I thought, do I write them a letter before I went into the surgery? Because we had an appointment with the surgeons about the risks. And I thought, do I write them a letter just in case anything bad happens? So what I decided on doing was focusing on, I'm not writing them a letter because I will come out of this, but I bought them both a Build-A-Bear teddy, which is like a mortgage to go and get two especially. And in them, they had a little voice recorder. So I just put in, "Hiya Ted, Mummy loves you, give me a cuddle." And I did the same with Albie's. And Ted loved his, and Albie shot his with Nerf bullets. He hated it. So like, great. Yeah.
That is, you hadn't told me that one.
Oh, I know.
That is so lovely. Do you know, it makes you think though, if you're in a similar situation, well, what would I do? You know, I've got 2 children. What would I do? Would I write them a letter? It's so difficult, isn't it?
No, and you don't want to focus on the negatives. You want to focus on the positives.
Yeah.
But what chance?
Sam and Paul said, "Oh, isn't that lovely?" And Paul's never met you. So that's coming through from this conversation. Hey, Irene, Claire's there saying hello to you. So I mean, and this is just typical of you, how you find humour out of everything. You know, you're making me laugh, even though it's a sad topic. Yeah, you're getting everybody laughing. But so this is where the book was born, isn't it? And let's hear about this amazing book. Look for the Effin Rainbows. So do you want to explain the title as well, first of all? Effin is spelled EFFIN, by the way, everybody.
Yeah. So the title came out of, because I'm not serious. I'm not a serious person. So and everybody always says, be positive, but it's hard. It is hard to be positive. And without these big downs, you don't have you can't appreciate the amazing highs that you get. So, and staying on that line, it's just boring, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, look for the Effin Rainbows, because stuff will happen, and stuff out of your control or stuff that you've brought on yourself will happen. But it's just, right, okay, deal with it. Look for the good bits, move on, and let's crack on, basically. Yeah. So that's the book, but the title. But after I'd had surgery, they say rest your brain. It's had a shock. So for 3 weeks, I watched Don't Tell the Bride on daytime TV, and I thought, I can't take any more of this. So I thought, right, I knew I were off work for a good couple of months. So I thought, I'll start writing a book. So yeah, and my book is very, I suppose, conversational, as in when you read it, you feel like you're probably having a cup of tea with me.
Brilliant book title.
So yeah, it just feels, I've written how I speak, basically. Yeah, and I think and that helps people get into it, I suppose.
Yeah, and the style is different. It's almost like a conversation with a friend, isn't it? And you just, and it's your thoughts that are coming into your head. But also maybe mentioned as well here, you have these gratitudes that you do, which are a theme throughout it. So do you want to explain a bit more about the gratitudes that you write?
Yeah, so I still write all my gratitude list every night and go to bed. Even if it's been a horrendous day, I find three positives, and it could be, I don't know, anything. Albie's not cried today, like great. But that's continued through my life, and with affirmations as well, because since losing Dusty, I've sort of been on a soul searching, and I've learned so much. I've started focusing on me, because if I did something and they say, what is your why? And I'd be like, well, it's Ted and Albie.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, it's more than that. It's more than Ted and Albie. It's, I want to feel like I'm doing something. I know I can do something more. So yeah, and my vision board, I've got a vision board. I've got affirmations on the bathroom. Adam thinks I'm crazy. But he's married to me now, so there's nothing he can do. But yeah, so I'll say to Adam, do you want anything on the vision board? He'll be like, no. But I do. I stick something on for him that he's told me that he'd like. So I think secretly he does believe a little bit into it. But I just think you need to put yourself, I don't know, you need to have this vision, or else you could just go along life like that.
Well, I personally really believe in visualization, and I also believe about looking ahead. When my coach and I do solution focused coaching, but it's Stephen Covey. I don't know if you've come across him. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But there's one for families, for children, but the important thing about is his second rule: begin with the end in mind. So it's about thinking, where do you want to go, and where do you want to, and so that's where vision boards are so powerful, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because you can actually, this is what I want, and if you think about it enough, it happens, rather than focusing on the negative. And that's what I really admire about you, because you've had all these things that you could have wallowed in, but you haven't.
Yeah. To be fair, my dreams have just got bigger. If anything, and I just think I can achieve it if I put my mind to it. And I like to show Ted and Albie that as well. Adam does DJing, he's an inspector during the day, does DJing at night. Ted said to me the other day, so how many jobs have you got, Mummy? But I just think, show them that it doesn't, you do your day job for 40 hours. Make sure you enjoy that, but you've got so many hours. You've got without sleep, I think it's 72 hours then spare. 72 hours is a lot of time to do something else with. You don't have to, like, because you've got a job, just leave it at that. Just go for your dreams. And I hope Ted and Albie see that in both me and Adam. So do you all have a vision board each, or is it just the one vision board? How do you do it? No, I have a vision board. I've got two visions of Adam's on there, so he has a little corner of it. And then I did say to Ted, let's do a vision board. So we've done a couple of vision boards with Ted. The first one had all Batman toys on it, and then the second one had a Lamborghini, and I can't remember what else. But I thought, I think we need to go back to basics again, So, but it's something I will do with them both. Yeah.
I like from Batman to Lamborghini. That's
a big leap, isn't that?
That's a really good leap. And so I love the way. So obviously you're imparting your values, aren't you? And your sort of approach to life on them, which is lovely.
Yeah, and obviously they don't have to take on our values, but if they at least experience them and think if that's something that they would like, then great, we've shown them a way. And if not, then great, they're their own personalities. So, but just to experience these different ways of life before they decide on what works for them.
Yeah. So go on, let's talk a little bit more about Adam and your jobs, actually, because you've told me a few really funny stories about you. So when you went into the police force, it wasn't your intention, was it?
No. So I played Juliet Bravo when I was about 8 with my handbag. and then nothing. Didn't dream of being a police officer, and I was made redundant at 22, and I thought I'd only been in the job a year, and I thought, what am I going to do now? So what I realised I wanted was security. Whatever job I did, I wanted security in it. And then the only job that sort of stood out to me at the time was a police officer. So I applied to be a police officer, and I joined at 23. And I thought it was this worldwide, what's the phrase? Well, you know everything about everything.
You were worldly wise. You thought, that's right.
That's correct, yeah.
I know everything.
Yeah, until I got in the police. And I was 23. I was based in the city centre of Manchester, so Bootle Street it was at the time. And it was a shock to the system. Things I saw that I didn't realise were real, like prostitutes, the amount of prostitutes, male prostitutes, how people lived and were happy to live. You know, it just was a bit of a shock to the system. So I quickly grew up in the first couple of years being in the police.
And have you got any funny stories you can tell? I think you've told me about one where you were having to arrest a very large gentleman.
Yeah, that was it. That was a scary one. I'm 5'3.5", I suppose. I went to arrest a guy, and he was a well-known Manchester criminal, and he's about 6'2", but as wide as well. And I got there, and I thought, how am I going to do this on my own? So I was in a van, and I thought, I can't tell him yet I'm going to arrest him, but I needed to arrest him. So I shouted up for any more patrols that were passing. Nobody was available, and I thought, oh my God. So he then rang, he was on his phone, and he rang loads of his friends up. So loads of people, all his associates, were then all round me. And I remember thinking, how on earth am I going to do this? I can't just let it go. I need to do it. So luckily, one guy drove past, and I'm like, come and help. So as soon as he got out of the van, I said to the lad, you're under arrest. Got him in the back of the van. And he just shouted obscenities to me the whole way to the custody office, to the police station. And I remember shouting obscenities back at him, basically. And then when we got into the custody office, he approached the counter where the sergeant is, and he pulled out a phone from his sock. And he said, I'd just like to tell you that I've been recording this police officer, and she swore, and she's called me this, and she's called me that. And I thought, oh my God. And then the custody sergeant said, how was he speaking to you? I said, exactly the same way. And he said, well, that's the way he understands, you know, so that's fine. So I ended up writing him a pocket notebook, and I called him this and this, and I called him this and this. And I thought, I can't believe I've written all that in my pocket notebook. But yeah, there were some scary situations. There were some funny ones. Like I think my sister works with teenagers, and my mum has always worked with older people. And I, for some reason, I cannot deal with older people. It just makes me cry. And I went to a job where this lady had got dementia, and she'd been reported missing. And her husband, I found her husband, and this lady had remembered a previous boyfriend before her husband who basically sort of mentally abused her, and she was telling us all this. And then we realised it wasn't her husband at the time. So I went to get her husband, and he was sick with worry. And I brought him in, and I'll never forget her name, but I won't say it. And I said, look who we brought for you. Look who's here. And I said, it's your husband. And she started kicking off. That's not my husband. That's not my husband. And I saw his face, and he was devastated. And I just started crying. I was a detective there, and I just started crying. And I remember thinking, I need to get out of this old people's home. But there was locks on all the doors, you know, code locks. So I couldn't get out. So I ended up running through the kitchen. So a crying detective running through the kitchen just to get out. But I can't deal with old people.
I'm sorry, but the way you paint the picture again, I think you can all see, guys, how funny Irene is, and I think you're just really good at just you obviously managed to turn any quite worrying and upsetting situations into a humorous side to it. You've got me laughing all the way. So Adam and you, obviously you have worked together in the force all these years, isn't it?
Well, we've never actually worked together, because if we worked together we wouldn't be married. But yeah, we're like chalk and cheese. He is he's just so he's a very, very good police officer. He's the best police officer I know, but he's yeah, we're chalk and cheese. He's very much let's see what happens. That is just crazy talk in my head. So yeah, but so we clash sometimes, and then sometimes we compromise. But we've got this bond between us that'll never go. And I think for that reason, we'll always be together. Through the the hard times and the good times, we've always got Dusty between us. Obviously, we've got two lovely boys as well, but we've always got going through what we went through with Dusty between us. So,
and I think it is lovely that you said that throughout it all, Adam, it's actually made your relationship a lot stronger, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And between you both, you've actually also shown a tremendous amount of resilience. The ability to bounce back from it all, because a lot of people, it could have caused all sorts of issues between you and split up and all the rest of it. But you've actually, you've stuck together. You've been like glue, but also being different. But at the same time, you've actually been resilient with it.
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing we do have in common, that we're not a victim of life, and we choose not to be. So yeah, we do have one thing in common, thank God, which is that. So yeah, but we are very different.
I'm going to have to meet him now. In fact, we've not actually physically met, so we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to rectify that after we were able to sort of meet properly. And a beautiful couple, obviously. You've obviously made your mark on a lot of people's lives, Irene. So in terms of the future, have you any plans to write further?
Yeah, I've got plans to write further. I'm forever writing notes in my phone, funny things that happen. But yeah, I would love, on my dream board at the minute is a vision board. It's not a dream board. Is to have my book in WH Smith's in all the airports eventually when people can fly out, because I just think that would be a perfect place for it. Being on holiday would be a perfect place to read it, and make it into a TV series. So that's my next goal.
Have you approached anybody about that?
I have. I'm in talks at the minute. So fingers crossed. And I've got pictures of BAFTAs all around the house, because if you don't dream big, you might as well go home.
I love it. Love the outlook on life. You have a choice to be victim. Yeah, absolutely. It is about, glass half full versus glass half empty. And it's about, I have a saying that, things happen to you in life, but you have choices, haven't you, as to how you respond. And you can either respond and let the situations or people or whatever it is, what people say or what people do affect you, or you can choose to, no, I won't let it affect me. And I love your approach to life. It's awesome. Absolutely brilliant. It's been absolutely amazing. Keely, look at all that. All the love. All the love. So is there anything else at all you wanted to share at all before we finish?
No, I suppose I try and keep it real. And I think it's helped me by keeping it real, meeting people then who interact, because I've done that in the first place. So I just think, and I know it sounds a bit cliche, keep it real, but and accept whatever you're going through is just a stage, and life will get better and you will laugh again. Acceptance.
And I think you're an absolute inspiration. Some of the comments that are coming through, you will make it happen. Even if this conversation helps you to make it happen, we'll post it everywhere. Everywhere. We'll share it everywhere. We'll send it to. So just so that everybody, this is streamed to, apart from my business page, my own live page, my own profile. It's also gone onto YouTube. I've streamed it to YouTube, and I will have the recording. So we're going to be sharing it far and wide, and. So hopefully we'll get it to the broadcasting house where they can actually think, oh, let's make something out of it. I love that. Dream big or go home. Amazing. Thank you very much. We have got to finish now because I'm trying to keep it under an hour so it can go on IGTV as well. So it's going to be on Instagram, everybody. Please follow Irene. you can get the book, I'm sure, on Amazon, and we'll leave links in the conversation afterwards. But thank you so much, Irene. It's been an absolute dream and a pleasure talking to you today. And do please keep watching the conversations, everybody, because it's really fun talking to people. And if there's anything you want to talk to me about, contact me. All right, everybody, take care and have a good weekend. All my love. Bye-bye.